Welcome to the Grok's Life Podcast. I'm your host, Haley Morris, a certified Primal health coach and holistic life coach. This show is the place to be if you seek the truth and are ready to take charge of your own health and lifestyle. You can locate our disclaimer on grokslife.com. This is Haley with the Grok's Life Podcast. Today we have a guest named Adam, and I hope I get his last name right. Is it Chevrolet?
Chevalier.
Chevalier. Okay, cool. It's definitely a different last name. So he's going to talk about accountability and mindset in training, and I'm excited to hear his perception of it. We kind of both vibe on staying out of the mainstream when it comes to diet and fitness. So, hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty good. Can you kind of start off telling everybody kind of about your background and how you got into the mentality that you're in now today?
Absolutely. Well, I think I started a paleo primal diet back in 2010. I had a friend that was a celiac, or he has celiac disease, and sort of as a show of support, a friend of mine and myself went gluten-free with him, and then both of us found that we felt really good. So,
yeah.
And upon looking for recipes and whatnot, I stumbled across Mark Sisson's website, and from there I just sort of kept developing my knowledge. Eventually I went to college, and one of my majors was American Indian Studies.
Oh, cool.
Where I learned a lot about Plains Indian culture, which was mainly hunter-gatherer cultures. So a lot of my study there got to focus on their lifestyle factors and how they lived, and then, some of those things I've incorporated into my life. And after I graduated, I got my health coach cert, got a couple of them, and started working at a gym. And now I just coach people on ways to basically take the focus off of, the mainstream, which would be really focusing on body image as a means of defining your health, to all the different parts of life. I call it a multi-dimensional approach to your health. And that covers things like diet, exercise, sleep, stress, and your social connections. Those are my 5 big areas that I want people to focus on.
Cool. So did you end up going to college to study that because you went gluten-free and felt good and thought, you should learn more about the hunter-gatherer approach, or was that just like, that just kind of happened?
So there's definitely a few other things in my life. I belonged to a church that did mission trips up to the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota.
Oh, cool.
And I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, by the way. And so I already had an interest there, and I had read up a lot. But my main interest in taking that major, along with my other major, which was sociology, was focusing on lifestyle factors. A lot of people look more at the sort of the spirituality side of Native culture, specifically where the school I was at was Lakota culture, which, if you know Crazy Horse or Red Cloud or any of those. I don't know if you've heard of them.
A little bit. I actually looked into some of the Native American spiritual side on my own.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And it's all really interesting stuff. But my main focus was focusing on a hunter-gatherer culture diet, the amount of physical activity, and really I focused on their social systems and how they were connected as a community in light of health and how that affects, their each individual member.
So how did going through that kind of studying kind of shape and form how you approach coaching people today on the mindset?
Well, my business is called Life Without Mirrors, and I challenge my clients to take 30 days away from the mirror and the scale. And I want them to look at life, as it should be. Because I don't imagine that any of our hunter-gatherer ancestors were waking up one day and saying, "Oh, I want to be healthier because I look bad in the mirror. That wasn't part of life.
Right.
And I don't think that should be part of our health either. I think getting to a natural state of how we view our health, which was, focusing on what we eat and why we eat it, what activities we perform and why we do them, how we spend our time. Really, I think that's been the biggest challenge, and definitely has great outcomes for a lot of people, and more importantly, has consistent outcomes. So building that mindset of, living your life without mirrors for, first strictly for some time, and then without putting the focus on it, and instead taking an approach that includes those 5 different arenas I mentioned, and recording on those arenas of how you've been affected. I've seen a lot better consistency rather than, before I implemented this sort of system, where it was just body composition was the sole motivation. I tell people, if beauty is skin deep, so is the motivation.
I like that.
Yep.
So how do you okay, so you do a 30 days off of the mirror and off of the scale. So have you, since I'm assuming you've worked with quite a few people doing that?
Yep.
Okay,
I've worked about 24 people now, yeah.
So what is that outcome for them, not looking at themselves in the mirror and not being on a scale? Have you gotten any feedback on how that's kind of changed their mentality?
The biggest thing I noticed is they have confidence. That has been the single biggest piece of feedback I've gotten from every single one of them, is that when they take the focus off of, just finding all these little imperfections, or finding things that don't ever meet that ideal body standard that's in people's minds, and they spend their life, just moving through their day and making healthy decisions because it's a gift to themselves, not because they think there's something wrong with them. Mm-hmm. They build a lot of confidence, they build a lot of self-love and a lot of self-compassion, and happy consequence, their body composition gets better.
Yeah.
without having to rule their minds or their life. And the way I do that, too, to build that awareness around these other aspects of their life, is I have something I call a living journal. Mm. And I record, it's kind of like a quantifying your life. And I go through those 5 arenas, I'll say again, are diet, exercise, sleep, stress, and connections. 5 different goals, 5 small action items every day, and 5 large action items every day. And it equals out to 100, but I couldn't really, since we're not on a computer, I'd love to show you it, but it's something I could send you.
Okay.
While they record through this and go through it, they start to see wow, I'm sleeping so much better eating a healthy diet. Mm-hmm. I'm having so much less stress not having to obsess about my food, but just making healthy choices because I know it's going to make me feel good. They're making these decisions from a deeper place than this negative thought in their mind. I look bad. Something's wrong with me.
Yeah, I like that. I like having to step back and look at yourself in a different perspective in order to make decisions. That is pretty cool. So what made you kind of think of coming up with that sort of program for people?
I think it was, the things that you come up with in life are really sort of personal, and that especially the things that work for other people. And that's kind of how it was for me. Was I spent a lot of time coming from that approach, which I think is the majority of people when they look for exercise or nutrition, they're saying something's wrong with me. I don't look like this person. I don't, the I'm not good enough sort of mindset. And that was my approach for a long time, and I noticed that I was never consistent, which I think is a big problem for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Is that what I tell my clients is you're constantly sabotaged by your own sense of self-worth. And it's really ironic because you'll spend weeks saying, oh, I've worked really hard, I've eaten, not enough food. Realistically, that's what they're usually doing. But, I've eaten this little amount of food, done all this. And I ask them if they relate to that. I say, what do you eat on your birthday? And they say, oh, I eat cake and ribs and all this stuff. And I say, okay, because you're worth having those, what you would call treats.
Right.
So what I do is I flip their mindset and I say the real treat, if you're logical, if you're realistic, the real treat is healthy food. And you can give yourself healthy food every single day. And what I do is I ask them 2 questions. Number 1, I say, what could possibly be restrictive or punishing about eating the food that directly contributes to your good mood, your high energy, and your better body composition? And the flip side of that, what's rewarding or what's a treat about eating food that directly contributes to the opposite, to low mood, low energy, bad body composition? That's not a treat.
Right.
I call that diet trap thinking is how I kind of explain it to them.
Yeah, I like that. My thing is kind of staying away from like the mind stream is really just, and like I said, I like stepping away from like the looking at yourself in the mirror type of mentality, because we're all pushed and shoved to what is healthy, what does that look like here in the modern world. And I think that if people just take a step back and don't look not even at themselves, but also like other people, and go into that inner place and kind of find what's healthy for me, and if I eat that piece of cake at night, I might wake up with a sugar hangover in the morning, and do I want to deal with that, that next morning? So it's just really like changing that perception of what is health for a person. So what is health like for you, like in your eyesight, from your perspective?
What is health for me? That's a big question. I think number 1, it's about your internal experience of life. Mm-hmm. I think it has a lot to do with how you look at the world. It's not just what you eat and how you exercise. Those are just things you do as an effect of how you look at the world. But I think health for me, if I had to boil it down to just 2 sentences, it'd just be good food and good friends. That's all I could really say. You have those 2 things in your life, and that's pretty much all you need.
Yeah, just kind of like enjoying yourself, not really stressing out about stuff. Yeah, just enjoying life. I like that. So is there anything that you like kind of want to get across to listeners? Because there's a lot of people listening to this throughout the world, and I just want them to like, if they wanted to go to you for something, what can you tell them that maybe that you could help them with?
The biggest thing I tell my clients is you're absolutely adequate. You're absolutely worth it. You're worth good health. You're more than the scale. You're more than the mirror. And the whole world, all the media will tell you you're less, and it's simply not true. By virtue of being alive, you deserve the best, and you deserve to give yourself the best.
Cool. And is there anything else that you would like to kind of throw out there for them, or anything else that you would like to share?
Shameless plug, my website's lifewithoutmirrors.com, and if you feel like I can help you, and I'd love to help you.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show and explaining what you do, and I hope that someone's listening in and will connect with you in order to change their life.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one.
And now it's time to thank our sponsors. If you know about health, then you know it's important to have a healthy gut. If you're looking for some living probiotic food to add to your diet, then get a hold of Mark at Fermenty Artisan. Go to facebook.com/Fermenty Artisan now. If you're truly into health, you want to seek out the people producing living food the right ways. Here in Rossville, Indiana at Silverthorne Farm, Nate and Emily produce the highest quality produce seasonally and supply this amazing produce to restaurants and members of their CSA. If you're in Indiana, check them out and support them by visiting their website, www.silverthorne-farm.com. Are you sick of supporting people that don't know what's going on in the world? Gina Martin Realtor is a realtor that knows what's going on, and she can get your house listed and get it sold. So check out GinaMartinRealtor.com to see more. Have you ever heard of Ezra's Enlightened Cafe? If you haven't, you need to go check it out. It's on Ferguson Street in Broad Ripple, Indy. It is full of nourishing food for your mind, body, and soul. Thanks for listening to the Grok's Wife podcast. Check me out at grokswife.com and click services to see if any apply to you today.